Hey, what's going on, guys? Kalamazi here, and today's, Thursday, Shadowlands beta build brought with it a handful of changes to Warlocks. Pretty much every class, from what I've seen, had a good bit of legendary tuning today. Most of the Warlock legendary tuning was buffs, which is an awesome thing. However, Destruction was nerfed a little bit, sort of. If you saw my video last week talking about the actual PTR pre-patch changes to Destro, it's essentially the same changes as that, but it has a few different implications because of Shadowlands' actual toolkits, covenants, really just legendary interactions. However, at the same time, there's also a new legendary. Mark of Borrow Power has been removed, and we have a spicy new one, which honestly is probably pretty decent for a handful of specs and builds. Oh, and a couple changes to Wilfred's, let's say, have given some have breathed life into some new builds. There's some spicy builds here, boys. Some new talent combinations, some new conduits make things pretty exciting. Sub 1 minute dark glares. We'll just leave it at that. So without further ado, let's get into that. Oh, by the way, any Weak Auras profiles add-ons you see here, you can get them for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by, hang out, drop a follow, ask any questions anytime, feel free to do so. So let's get right into this. I'm going to start off reviewing each change for the Wowhead post, or from the Wowhead post, and then actually get into how each looks in game. Let's do it. Now, I will have a link to this actual Wowhead article in the video description if you're looking for the changes firsthand. So if you want it, just jump on there and grab them. So starting off with the Affliction specific legendary changes, the first thing we see here is Wrath of Consumption. So the change they've made here is targets that die with your agony or corruption at this point apply to them give you the debuff or the buff, the stacking dot debuff. Now, yes, I've heard it a million times. Our dots don't do a lot of damage, and plus, I get it. I understand. It is a 25% damage amp when it stacks to 5 stacks here. And the big thing about this is an effect from Legion. However, in Legion, it was whenever you dealt damage to an enemy. When it died, you got the stacking buff. It wasn't for 25%, it was for a lesser amount, but having only Agony give you the buff if the mob dies was really inconvenient, because there are packs in Shadowlands similar to, like, I guess, Sky Screamers in Mythic Plus, other things of the sort, where, I guess more so Sarids, where you'll cast your Seed of Corruption or pull the pack, and they die super fast. So you can cast like your Seed, have it pop in the mobs, and then they all die. But before this change, you wouldn't get any Wrath stacks. You'd rather get your Seed out and get a little damage going, versus, okay, manually applying Agony to 5 mobs and doing no damage. So this is a good change. I like it. I don't think Wrath is like incredibly strong, and it's good in plus if your tank is chain pulling. It's not bad. However, there are some other effects like, you know, Corruption Legendary slow, Agony Shard Generation. They're also pretty good. So this effect would be nice if we had 2 legendaries available to us. But at this point, I'm happy with it. I'll take it. It's a buff in the end. Demonology. This has just been changed. It's a tooltip fix. Basically, Wowhead had it named Implosive Potential for 6 months now, or whatever, for a long time. It was changed to Implosive Potential. So nothing changed here, just an actual tooltip change. So, Destruction. Now, there are more legendary effects coming, which we'll get to, but the actual nerfs to Destro. So, these are essentially the same nerfs that we saw a week ago in beta for pre-patch. Reign of Chaos has had its actual, I guess, Infernal proc rate reduced from 20 to 15% for each soul shard spent. And also the actual duration has been nerfed from 10 to 8. So in pre-patch, this doesn't make a huge difference, I feel at least, because if you're playing Lucid Dreams Major and you pop it with your Reign of Chaos, your shard generation is insane regardless. You're casting so many Rain of Fires, spawning so many Infernals, they just despawn because you can have 5 total. You can't have more than 5. They just start despawning faster and faster. So the duration isn't huge for pre-patch, I feel, and the actual like reduced spawn rate isn't that big. For beta, though, going into Shadowlands, this is a bit of a nerf. It's not just 15%. It's 15%, so 5 less percent per shard spent. You spend 3 on Rain of Fires and 2 on Chaos Bolt. So it's a nerf. It's not massive, but it's a nerf. And the bigger thing here, I feel, is that it makes it harder to proc an Infernal early on in your Reign of Chaos. And if you play with it on PTR or on beta, PTR, whatever, you know that proccing an Infernal early on just feeds you more shards earlier and earlier and builds into more Reign of Fire casts, more Chaos Bolt casts early on. It just snowballs so much faster. So it's a nerf. It's unfortunate. It is what it is. We'll have to feel it out. At this point, Reign of Chaos is pretty OP. I mean, it has been for a while, but the issue, like I said at the start, is that outside of your Reign of Chaos window as Destro, your damage is not very good in Mythic Plus. It's okay in rating, but like it's not the best. So I'm sort of hoping that Blizzard sees this and try and buffs our damage, maybe buffs Chaos Bolt's damage. It would also help with Havoc windows. Just something to compensate for this, in a sense, because, I mean, you've seen things on a stream, like, you can see right here, literally, hey, Frostmage is doing twice the amount of damage as everybody else in the group. I will say, I was in second on the meters here. I stopped caring in this. We were running Sanguine Depths, and we got to the Gauntlet, and this mage had Frozen Orb every pack and just spammed Ice Lance. I just stopped caring at that point. I literally half AFK'd. Like, I was done. I was so over it. I can't put dots up. I can't get any Infernal value if the whole pack dies in a second to Frozen Orbs and Ice Lances and Trinkets. I can't do it. You know, but that's just tuning, even though we're, you know, 6 months into beta. Anyways, I'm hoping that is sort of something they take a look at, because we need to deal more damage, I feel, outside of our Infernal. Number 2. The Roaring Blaze nerf. Now, I'll be real with you. I don't totally get this. This is more of a single target nerf, or like 2-target Havoc cleave nerf. Roaring Blaze hasn't really been a talent that's like incredibly OP. Yeah, it buffs Soulfire, Demon Fire, Immo Incinerate, all that stuff. But I don't really understand the nerf here. It wasn't like we were playing single target Destro. And yeah, Destro's good on, you know, a handful of fights this tier, like the Dog Boss coming up, or, you know, Stone Legion Generals, or Sun King Salvation, but those are more or less, the last two at least, are more or less Reign of Chaos, like Soul Conduit fights with Wilfreds, you know? So I don't totally get this nerf, but I guess we'll just see what happens. I guess we just keep playing AF, single target, and move on with life for the most part. So, getting into the other legendary changes. Madness of Az, Jakir, whatever this is. So this is a tooltip change. The actual Chaos Bolt damage has been buffed from 10 to 25 tooltip-wise here. It's been this way since early alpha. It just wasn't showing it in the tooltip in-game. So, for whatever reason, it's changed now to reflect that damage. It's been working this way for a while, but it still is not like the best choice we have for single target, I feel. But a buff is a buff. This, however, is indeed a buff, and it's a pretty interesting one, which we'll get to in a bit here, when stacked with different conduits and abilities. So, this is essentially a 10% buff to Odr, whatever you call this thing. Now, this effect does work single target. So, previously looking back to Legion when this was around last time, I had a friend get this to drop early on. It was his first legendary. And he asked, like, does it work with single target? It does. You can technically still apply this on a one-target fight, but the thing is, you have, once again, better choices, like probably still Wilfred's or triple conflag as Destro. But it's still a thing, and the buff here is going to be relevant on fights where you're actually putting up your Havoc for cleave with the Havoc conduit. The damage the damage loss of Havoc, which is 60% on your secondary target, is more or less negated with this in the conduit. But we'll look at that in a little while here. General legendaries. Mark of Borrow Power is gone. The one that gave you a chance to refund shards spent with bolts, and this is just a weird legendary. I'll be real. Like, there were some similar legendaries we had for, like, that were spec specific. It just felt really odd. This is gone. The new legendary. It is Grimoire of Synergy. Damage done by you or your primary demon has a chance to grant the other one. 15% increased damage for 15 seconds. Name change from Mark of Borrow Power to Relic of Demonic Synergy. Procs per minute change from none to 3. So I can tell you right now, the procs per minute does indeed appear to be 3. Like, for you, like, it's more than 3. I'll tell you that right now. It sort of feels like it's 3 for you and 3 for your pet. It's more than 3. It's pretty impressive. So what this is saying here, it's 15% for Demonology and 10% for Affliction and Destruction. And technically, hey, Demonology is, at least as far as your pet goes, the spec that can probably benefit the most in this as far as pure pet damage goes. As far as like the player side of this buff goes, it's only the damage that you deal as a player, meaning like Shadow Bolts and whatever damage accounts for you. Your actual Wild Imps, your Dreadstalkers, your Tyrant, they're not affected by this. It's you, the player, and your primary demon being your Felguard, or if you're Af or Destro, your one dog, your dog, or your Imp. These pets here, these are the ones that are affected. Pets from like Hand of Gul'dan, little, you know, Wild Imps, Dreadstalkers, those are not affected. So that's sort of why the wording is a bit odd on this, but I'll be real, when we look at this effect in a little bit, it's actually pretty impressive. So, Pillars of the Dark Portal. This is actually a really cool change, and like it won't take long to show you guys. It's really, really cool. Demonic Gateway is now instant cast, and your first use of the gateway does not trigger its cooldown. So cool. That sounds good. In addition, Nether Energy lashes enemies you pass through, knocking them away. It's really cool. You can do it twice because you don't get a cooldown from Pillars. Honestly, this might be pretty insane in PvP. I don't do a whole lot of arenas, at least not yet. I want to branch out to it. This could be really insane. So if you enjoy PvP, be sure to watch that part of the video and just, hey, it's funny. It takes probably a minute to show you guys. Just check it out in the first place. The final change here. This is the big one. So Wilfred's Sigil of Superior Summoning. Every soul shard you spend reduces the cooldown of Dark Lair by 2 seconds. It was buffed from 1 to 2. Tyrant from 0.3 to 0.6. So it doubled. And Infernal from 2 to 1.5. So this sort of rounds out the Reign of Chaos, like 1 minute Infernal nerfs. I'll be real. I expected them to nerf it more. I expected them to overcompensate for like, oh, it's really OP, nerf it. 1.5 is still not bad. Yes, it's a nerf, but I mean, in the right environment, you had sub 1 minute Infernals. This is not excessive. This is, if they were going to nerf this, this is probably what I would have hoped they would have gone with. It still gives you like a 130, 40-ish Infernal probably in like the right environment. And it's still really strong. It'll still give you a 2 minute Infernal. So it's good to go there. As far as these two go, Demonic Tyrant, this is a big change here. When we were talking myself, Shelley, and THE in the Sloot deep dive, the Warlock deep dive, we mentioned how, I mentioned the point the reduction for Demonology, and Sloot, who barely plays the Warlock, was like, oh, that's terrible. Yeah, it's really bad. The buff here, doubling the effect though, we'll look at it in this video. It gives you basically a 1 minute Tyrant. You can get sub 1 minute Tyrants with this legendary effect. It's actually really strong. In my Warlock feedback document, I talked about both this and this for AF and Demo. I suggested like a 0.5 CD reduction per shard spent. Okay, I'll take 0.6. Fine with me, no problems. The Dark Lair one's also very interesting, doubling the cooldown reduction here, because we have a handful of things like Wilfred's, like Dark Caller, like this Conduit, that all reduce the cooldown on Dark Lair. I'm just going to say, we tested it on stream a bit. We'll look at it a bit here. Sub 1 minute Dark Lairs, I guess an AoE. They're a thing. 1 minute Dark Lairs and single target, it's pretty close to a thing. So let's get into all this. Oh, by the way, there is one change that I want to start off here with, which is actually not shown here. I don't know if it's undocumented. It's pretty cool. It's not like a damage tuning thing, but you'll like it. Glyph of Fel Imp. Check out what it does. They changed the cast animation. So, starting off with that, I guess, undocumented change of sorts, I believe PyroHex pointed this out in stream chat a few days ago. If I messed up your name or said the wrong person, I'm so sorry. But I appreciate you pointing it out. So, this is my copied character from Live with a different name. Just some random name I threw in there. Put my turnip down. Now, this character actually has Glyph of Fel Imp. My normal imp's name is Gobkin. This one is Guzzlin. He's a Fel Imp, as you can see here. Let me pull up this pet summon thing. There we go. Summon Fel Imp. So check this out. Watch what he casts. First of all, his cast it's fighting time. Are green. Number two, if I move over here to get a better angle, he's casting like Chaos Bolts. Like, it's not fire bolts. You can see like it's like almost like the old Chaos Bolt animation. You can see like the front of the Chaos Bolt. It's really cool. I mean, it doesn't deal any more damage, but it's pretty cool. It's a Fel Imp. It's green fire, and it's a Chaos Bolt kind of animation. I did indeed check on a normal imp, and it's a fire bolt. So it's still orange, and you can't really see like a defined like Chaos Bolt head kind of effect here. It's pretty cool. I'm surprised I didn't notice this earlier on, but hey, it's cool. People want the old Chaos Bolt animation back, or at least some of us do, and yeah, I guess you sort of have it in your Fel Imp if you want to go that way with Glyph of Fel Imp. Okay, so the first one I want to show you guys, now that we've seen the Wild Imp Chaos Bolt launching, is actually the Demonic Gateway change. Like, remember, once again, everything is pretty much the same, but it lashes out Nether Energy. You still have 2 charges here, and for the most part, everything is the same as it's been for a while, legendary-wise. Let's put our Gateway down. Where's my keybind for Gateway? Actually, oh, I dragged it off to another part. Okay, here. Gateway. Let me scroll through 10 pages here to find my gate. Cool. It's here somewhere, I swear. There it is. Cool. Sounds good. Gateway. It's instant cast because of the legendary. So let's pull a couple of horses here. Let's put them between me and the gate. And let's gate. Watch the horses. They just go flying. So it knocks them up in the air. And let's do it again. You can see them falling. It actually knocks them up in the air. Now you can gateway twice because legendary gives you 2 charges. I don't PvP a whole lot, but seeing as how it knocks them in the air, like I feel like this is going to be really, really good in arenas. People just don't want to come near your gateway, probably, but as melee, don't they have to? Like, I mean, it sort of makes sense. I feel like this could be pretty OP in arenas, and just PvP as a whole. Like, this looks really good. I mean, obviously, Gateway has a lot of utility if you're able to actually use it and get around in time. This seems really, really strong. Plus, it's pretty cool. Now, it does say you on the actual tooltip. In addition, Nether Energy lashes out, or lashes enemies you pass through. It doesn't say the entire group. I haven't had a chance to test it in a party setting. If this does affect the entire group, I'm sure there'll be some crazy shenanigans with their plus and rating, everything going on. So it's pretty cool to see. Visually, it's awesome. I think there could be a lot of PvP implications with this legendary. It's pretty solid. Okay, so now that we have Demonic Gateway and the Fel Imp out of the way, the first change I want to show you guys is to Odr, Shawl of the Yimmerjar, this thing. So it was buffed from 15% to 25% increased damage here, which is solid. Now, keep in mind, let me change this out as well. I don't know why this is on a pair of legs, not a cloak, too. Like, hardcore miss there. Anyways, so keep in mind, your Havoc target takes 60% of your damage normally from Havoc that you deal to your main target. However, looking at the tooltip here, it says 73%. 73% because of the conduit we have here, which is Duplicitous Havoc. At rank 13, eye level 213, I should say, it is 13.8 more damage, so essentially 14% damage. So instead of 60, you're looking at 74% being transferred. Well, if you have the actual legendary effect on, when I put it up here, watch the damage on these 2 targets. This is going to be my Havoc target. Let's get rid of the nameplates so you can see just raw numbers. We're going to put Havoc here, Havoc, there's the cloak effect, tab here, Chaos Bolt. Watch the damage. It actually hit for just about the same. Well, Conflag, the Conflag crit, to be fair. Even without a crit, it's very, very similar damage-wise. We'll do it again here in a second. It's essentially dealing what? I mean, pretty much like 98% damage. You're pretty much getting 100% of the damage in your Havoc window on your main target, on your secondary target now with this effect. Now, I mean, comparing this to other legendary effects, we'll launch into the Chaos Bolt here. Let's see if we can get a bigger hit here. How much do we get? It's actually, okay, it was sort of close. I've had larger hits on my Havoc targets, and it's mostly due to like Destro Mastery and the 5% spell variance that you see. Comparing this to like triple Conflag or even Wilfred's in a cleave-based scenario, I just don't think it's strong enough to compete with them. But it's really cool. And on certain fights where there's permanent 2 targets, like let's say Dog Boss in Castle Nathria, for example, it could gain a decent bit of value here. Once again, you are playing like Rolling Havoc instead, or sorry, Duplicitous Havoc instead of like Combusting Engine or something else and Infernal Brand. But it's cool to see the build is actually there. Oh, and by the way, the new conduit system is in. By the way, there you go. I get another charge in 8 hours. Now, the other thing that I want to show you guys here is if we go single target, just to confirm, launch the Chaos Bolt. We'll see how hard it hits. It hits for 6,132. We'll build back the 2 shards, put up my Havoc single target, launch a Chaos Bolt. 8.3k. So it does indeed double, or I guess increase your damage dealt to your target with Havoc on it by 25%. It does work in single target. So if for whatever reason you're using this and don't have like one of the better Destro legendaries, just keep that in mind. It does work single target, although for the most part there probably are better options legendary wise, or you could just play AF and play the better spec in single target, at least right now. So moving on to the new legendary that we got today, in place of Mark of Borrowed Power, we have Shoulder Pads of Demonic Synergy. This is Grimoire of Synergy from before. Damage done by you or your primary demon has a chance to grant the other one 10% increased damage for 15 seconds. It says 10% here because we're Destro. We're going to swap the Demo and look at what that does. It's going to say 15%. So Demo gets that 5% bonus. It's, there you go, 15. So, now, this is pretty interesting, because let me get out my Felguard here. Demonology, I feel, is the spec that benefits the most from this, for the pet damage aspect. I think Destro and Af benefit more for the player, part of the buff, because you have Rapture, you have Chaos Bolt. Demo doesn't really have a whole lot of, hard-hitting abilities like Rapture or Chaos Bolt or whatever you're doing, for Destro and Af. But we have conduits that increase our pet damage. We have, what's it called? Fel Commando, which is a baseline 13% damage increase to our damage. Plus, if Grimoire of Synergy procs, it's an even bigger increase. And if you're casting Demonic Strength, or just the Demonic Strength, Soul Strike, or just Spellstorm, or just baseline damage your Felguard deals, it's actually a pretty good bit. Let's open up here and go for about a minute or so, maybe a little less, and see what the damage breakdown looks like. Now, as far as mark of bar of power goes, or sorry, shoulder pads of Demonic Synergy goes, look for the buff. You can see my pet's buffs here and mine here. It'll be like a purple, rune looking thing. It's a visual effect over my head too. I believe it's the same as Sigil of Death for rogues. Let's just see what this does for us, what our damage breakdown looks like. Normal opener, I'll lust because why not? Sure, well, I'll baby lust because why not? There we go. Dogs. We'll do this. Watch for the actual proc, if we get one. I'll try and point it out, too. Tyrant will Demonic Strength, put up my Scouring Tithe, and there it is, right there. Mark of Relic of Demonic Synergy. Now, the cool thing here is that there's no ice, and there we go, my pet has it, too. So, the cool thing here is that both your pet and you can have it at the same time. What's our burst stat? 5.3k? Both of you can have it at the same time. And it can refresh on top of itself. I don't believe there's an ICD on it. And if there is, it's not for a long time. But once again, we have it again here. My pet has it again here. It refreshed again. They say 3 procs per minute. That might be 3 for you and 3 for your pet. Look, reproc again. This is a pretty high uptime, and seeing as how important your Felguard is to Demonology, or just as far as damage goes, this is something. This is strong. Now, they both are dropping here. Let's see how long it takes to reproc one. Let me get my Scouring Tithe back up. Hopefully sooner than later. For the most part, I've seen anywhere from 65 to 70, I guess 60 to 70-ish% uptime on both them. We're getting pretty unlucky here. But from what I've seen, also, Details only tracks your uptime, not your pet. So let's just stop here, I suppose. Oh, there we go, we'll be reprocced. So let's see what our average pet damage breakdown looks like after we cast. I guess we'll hold for our next Tyrant, because we can Demonic Strength and things there, too. Let's try and get our rotation back on point and not just flounder around here. There's a reproc for us as well. And the visual effect's really cool, too. There's also a bit of an audio cue. If you're listening, you can hear it go off. It's really, really cool. It's similar to Nightfall or Shard sniping with Af, but it's different. It's essentially like Sigils of Death, I believe, for rogues. Somebody pointed it out in chat earlier. So we'll do one more hand here and then set up this Tyrant. So we'll get our Tithe up. There's that. Just launch these dogs so I can lose our proc. Biofiend this. There's that. And pray for a proc here. Cast this. Cast this because dogs are going to expire. Tyrant. Demonic Strength. And pray for a proc. Any procs at all? Any procs, boys? Ian, please. Ian? It actually proc twice there on me. I wanted on my pet when he's Demonic Strength thing. Alright, let's implode and look at our damage breakdown. So, for the most part, we're looking at what? 7, 14, 21-ish. I guess 7, 14, and 20-ish. In testing earlier, when we had better procs, we were looking at 25, 26, 27% from our Felguard. If you get the proc with your Demonic Strength and everything, it's really, really, really good. It's really strong. The effect is really big. It's just good. Demonology really didn't have Legendary before. I felt that was universally applicable. You had the Hand of Gul'dan one that would give you a chance to spawn to cast a Hand of Gul'dan, which was fine. But it just felt sort of boring, It was yeah, you can play it, but you just set it and forget it. You're not really looking for any buffs, any tracking. It's just, if it procs, great. If it doesn't proc, great, whatever. Everything else, the actual called Dreadstalkers one, let's see if we can find these here. The Dreadstalkers one, it's cool, and it worked with the dog build, but it seems sort of lackluster. This is really good or really bad. You don't play it everywhere. This is so narrow, it's not even funny. And this is the generic one. This actual Legendary has a lot of potential for Demonology, and technically Af and Destro too if you get the right procs at the right time, but That's more or less a sim thing. Oh, you might be wondering, hey, if I'm playing Grimoire of Sacrifice, how does this work? Let's take a look. So we are still playing Mark of Borrowed Power. You can see the actual percent is down to 10 and not 15 like it was for demo. Let's get our pet out. Let's swap to Grimoire of Sacrifice. Let's kill our pet. Sorry, buddy. And let's go. So Sacrifice. So watch for procs appear, and I'll show you what it does. We're just going to start putting up dots. This is not the optimal opener, but we're just going to do it because, hey, you know, I want to see what it does. I want to show you guys what it does. Scouring Tide, let's go into this. Why not? It's really weird going back and forth between live and beta, by the way. Especially in pre-patch, having like blood the enemy and things, and like not having Shadow's Embrace. It's really, really weird. So keep watching, boys. This is Dark Soul. This is not Mark of Borrowed Power. Keep watching. It'll proc eventually. Keep watching. Keep watching. Maybe it'll proc eventually. Maybe. Okay, I lied to you. It doesn't work. It's quite literally a dead legendary. With Grimoire of Synergy or Sacrifice, it doesn't proc. It doesn't work at all. So I guess the good thing here is that maybe they have something in mind to replace Grimoire of Sacrifice with, and that's why it's not working, and we'll see it in a later build. But what I'm really thinking is it's just an oversight. It does not work. It does not proc. You don't get a damage buff on yourself. It's just dead. So if you're playing this, don't play this, and pray that they're going to remove Sacrifice or change it at some point, because yeah, anti-synergy, check, it's a go. Okay, so you guys might be wondering, hey, how does Wilfred's look now for Destro? Well, more so Demo and Affliction. We know how it looks for Destro for the most part. You're not going to have those really insane sub 1 minute Infernals when you're like pulling trash like pack after pack after pack, but you still have access to a sub 2 minute Infernal. If you're in combat a lot and your tank is pulling around it, you're still going to have that solid damage profile, albeit not as OP, still a good damage profile as a whole. Now, the cool thing here for Demonology, they double the cooldown reduction from 0.3 to 0.6 per soul shard spent. So let's look at an opener here and see how our Tyrant is. I will say, I will start my timer right when we pop our Tyrant, and I've gotten some sub 1 minute Tyrants already. We even have Lust here. Let's do it without Lust, actually, because I don't want people to say, oh, he lusted. Let's just see what it gives us. No padding. No padding. Let's go. Open on Demon Bolt, Grimoire, Vile Fiend, Big Dogs, and we'll build, and we will cast our Tyrant in a moment. I'm just going to go 3 shards into this. It's whatever. I don't really care much. Tyrant, stopwatch, go. Cool. So watch the actual cooldown here, and we're going to see what happens. Watch my Tyrant here as well when I cast hands. Watch it get chunked cooldown reduction-wise. Like, watch, like, bam. You can see it moving. Like, you can see it move. It's that. It's big, man. It's pretty legit. I'm going to try and maintain a semi-normal rotation here. It does depend a decent bit on, like, obviously, like, Demonic Core refunds. There's 2 coming in from Imps expiring. We're going to have 2. I think those are actually dogs. Yeah, those are extended dogs. We're going to have 2 more now from other dogs expiring. There we go. And we just sort of pray that we get good RNG, I suppose, on refunds. But we're at 34 seconds, and our Tyrant has essentially 35 seconds left here. Now, depending on refunds, we could be in a pretty good spot. I'm going to Vile Fiend. I know my Scouring Tide is down. It's whatever. I'll put it up just so people don't complain again. There are some procs coming in. Launch this. And there are 2 procs. Very nice. We'll dump 2. Why not? We'll go hand, dogs, hand. Hand, dogs. We're at about the minute mark now. Hand again. You're looking at, honestly, about a minute 5 Tyrant. Like, give or take, about a minute 5, minute 8 or so, which is pretty much exactly what we have on live right now with VOP, like VOP Minor. The cool thing about this is that it lines up your Grimoire Felguard that much better. Yeah, I mean, okay, depending on the cooldown, you might have to hold your Grimoire for, I don't know, let's say 20-ish seconds. But it's better than 35 or 40. It feels much better, and you still want to hold for your Tyrant there. Because, yeah, okay, it sucks losing or sitting on it for 20 seconds. But you're getting a 15-second extension, as well as its health being put into your Tyrant's amount of consumption. And the same goes for Vile Fiend. Like, having a shorter Demonic Tyrant cooldown is so legit. It makes the spec feel so much better. And the cool thing is, unlike VOP, we're looking at VOP cooldown like numbers, right? Or VOP minor numbers right now. I have 11% haste right now. With the more haste you get, you're going to get a bigger like cooldown reduction on this. Or you're going to get like, it's going to be shorter. I'm casting faster. I'm casting more hands over and over, like faster and faster. It's not going to be a minute 5. It's going to be a minute. It's going to be sub 1 minute. It's going to be 55 seconds. It's going to be faster and faster. I do want to mention briefly here, yes, you could play Soul Conduit for more refunds and probably a shorter CD. It probably gets you like a minute, like 5-ish seconds off this. It's not worth it. Grimoire is much better, and the health it gives to your consumption Tyrant, a lot better. But still, if you guys want a minute Tyrant's back, I can tell you I did. It's back. This Legendary looks pretty good for demo, and so does Mark of Borrowed Power. Sorry. Mark of Synergy, Grimoire of Synergy, whatever they're calling it now. The new one. They both look pretty good. Let's take a look at a couple AF builds here, though, too. Because those 1 minute Tyrants, yeah, what about 1 minute Dark Lairs? So there's a handful of things that reduce the cooldown on your Dark Lair in Shadowlands. There's been a lot of talk about, okay, how short can I get my Dark Lair cooldown? Can I get it to 1 minute? Can I get it to a minute and a half? Combining this effect with this. So let's combine them all. Spoilers ahead, I already did. I know what it does. But let's take a look here. So we'll run Dark Caller, which gives you a passive, just straight up 2 minute Dark Lair cooldown. If we go over here, we can also rock the Corrupting Leer Conduit. This is the lowest rank you can get. It's 145. The higher you go, you have a higher chance to actually, like I guess, proc the CD reduction on Dark Lair. I think like 200 is like 4.9, I was told, I believe. So it increases by a decent bit. What, like, I guess like 50-ish%. It goes up from 3% to 4.9. Either way, let's do this. So we're playing Corrupting Leer, Dark Caller, and we're also playing Wilfred's. I'm going to go single target here, and we'll look at this and just see how short we can get the cooldown. Now, I'm playing AC, Drain Soul. Let's just change to a single target build. It'll be easier on a Siphon, Singularity. Let's change this. We'll keep this Dark Caller, obviously, no Haunt. And we'll play Dark Soul Misery. Now, you could play Soul Conduit for a couple more shard refunds for a bit of a shorter CD. Dark Soul also gets you a lot of value because of the haste, everything going on early on. So, let's pop this. And let's see how things go. So, I'll hit my actual stopwatch when I pop my Dark Lair. I'm not going to hit it until we actually do. Stopwatch, bam, reset this. All right, let's go. I'll pop cities a little early. I'm being lazy. UA, Scouring Tithe, Dark Lair. Pop it. We also want to get our Shadow's Embrace up, by the way, to 3 stacks here, because this is beta. Rapture things down. You can see our Dark Lair cooldown getting chunked here, too. You can see it getting reduced a bit. Not as much as, like, our Tyrant does, but you can see it reducing itself. It's pretty impressive. Also, once again, it's weird here with the UA having a 5-second longer duration, like it's not on live. It's so weird, going between live and beta so often. So we have like 15-ish seconds before a Singularity. I refresh Scouring Tithe here, Siphon, and just maintain. We're looking, I mean, we're at the 30-second mark here, coming into a Singularity window, and our Dark Lair is like halfway off cooldown already. It's sort of impressive. I'm going to refresh UA here a little early. Agony, Corruption. I'll do Singularity into, I guess, the Siphon, and we just start Rapturing. Just Rapture. This is going to fall. I want to try and catch it. There we go. This is falling too. And we're just going to dump a bunch of shards. Just dump. Now, I will say, we did pop Dark Soul in the opener here. When it comes back around, we're not going to have that haste buff for second Dark Lair. We're going to be off by like 20, 30-ish seconds, depending on cooldowns. We're looking at about, arguably, if we Raptured here, and it's a bit odd because they're like pooling shards for Singularity and stuff for those windows. You're looking at about a minute 15 Dark Lair, depending on procs. I've had better procs from Corrupting Leer, and I've seen 1 minute Dark Lairs, single target. But, once again, I have it up now, but I'm still waiting on my Singularity. So, it makes things a little awkward there, but at the same time, it's still pretty strong. Dark Lair's not as good as it was in BFA because UA stacking is gone. Deathbolt, thankfully, is now a PvP talent. But still, that 1 minute Dark Lair, that extension, that damage profile, it's strong. Let's take a look at it in 3 target cleave, though. So I know I said 3 targets, but I went all the way out to Daga Zaga Laga lore to make it 4. So we're playing the same build here. Wilfred's, Dark Caller, talent here. We're also still playing Corrupting Leer. So we're going to open up like normal. I will pop my stopwatch, start it the second I pop my Dark Lair. So we're going to go into Seed of Corruption. I'm going to pop my Agony now, just to get my Dark Soul now to get my Agonies rolling. 3, 4. I'll put up my UA. We'll Vile Taint. We'll Scouring Tithe. I'll Zerking. And I will Dark Lair. Start my timer. So now it's important here to maintain your Unstable Affliction, obviously, as well as your Agonies, because the UA gives you technically a 5th dot that can proc your Corrupting Leer, which reduces the cooldown of your Dark Lair. Now, this is 4 targets, which is pretty similar to what you're probably going to encounter in Mythic Plus. Whether the pack lives that long enough or not, well, that's something in itself. But still, we have Vile Taint coming around again here. I'm going to put it down, but we're not really going to Rapture much here because we don't have a whole lot of shards. The next time Vile Taint comes back around is when we're going to Rapture a bit more. We're going to keep draining. We're going to keep just maintaining our Agonies. We have 10 seconds left on Vile Taint, so we're going to start refreshing in Pandemic about here, here, here. We'll hit this one early. I don't know why it's this long. And then go UA and Vile Taint and just start Rapturing. Again, technically my Scouring Tithe is down. I'll put it up again and just start Rapturing. So we're looking at, I guess, like right around a minute Dark Lair. I guess like a minute 10 here. It's not the best, but it really truly just comes down to Corrupting Leer procs at this point. Obviously, we don't have a high amount of haste here. We only have 11%, but we could play Soul Conduit in this setting and have it gain a bit more value when it comes to just reducing raw Dark Lair damage or raw Dark Lair CD. But still, most of it's just based around Corrupting Leer procs once you get to a certain point with this level of haste. Either way, it's really strong, and having your Dark Lair, we did a key earlier on stream with the Frost Mage, so it completely invalidated all the testing we did because they're incredibly OP. But having a minute Dark Lair in Mythic Plus, especially in a high setting, can bring a lot of value. Dark Lair might not deal an insane amount of damage, but it does extend your dots long enough to get extra Rapture value in. And hey, who knows, maybe at some point with a hope and a prayer, Blizzard will make your I-Beam AoE, and that would make Dark Lair an impactful CD again in Mythic Plus and give Affliction a lot more value. But either way, it's cool seeing these 1 minute or sub 1 minute Dark Lair builds as AF. I have indeed had a sub 1 minute Dark Lair with the same build. Just depends on Corrupting Leer procs. And keep in mind, again, we're playing the lowest level of Corrupting Leer. It's 145. It's essentially a 5% chance at 200 or 213. So doubling the potential proc rate seems pretty solid. 1 minute Dark Lair is very, very real. And the Wilfred's buff has brought it. It makes it real. It's solid. Thanks for watching, dudes. Now, like I said, there were a few nerfs. Destro did get nerfed a bit, but we've sort of known that the Reign of Chaos nerfs were going to be coming. My main concern with Destro, though, at this point is that Wilfred's was nerfed a bit, which does hurt the Reign of Chaos profile a little bit in Plus, or I guess the handful of raid fights you're probably going to play it on. And the actual Infernal spawn rate has been nerfed, as well as the duration. So I'm just concerned with Destro outside of cooldowns, because Destro with Reign of Chaos and your Infernal feels really, really good. But when you don't have your Infernal, the damage is not very impressive. And there's most classes can probably deal more damage than you outside your cooldowns. And if you're a Frost Mage or a Rogue or a Hunter at this point, well, you destroy everything with your cooldowns. So Locks can't even do anything in the first place. When you have Reign of Chaos, and when your tank is pulling around your Infernal, Destro is very, very good. But when you don't have your Infernal, or your tank's not pulling around your cooldowns, Destro is not as strong as it appears to be. It sort of reminds me of Unholy DK almost in, I guess, BFA, MDI. It's really good in certain spots, but when you don't have your cooldowns, or your tank's not pulling around it, or Wilfred is being nerfed, you're not as impressive as before. The other changes, though, to Affliction and Destruction, those legendaries, those builds, the new legendaries, I'm excited to play with more on beta. Now, there are some pretty egregious outliers in Plus right now. Mages, Rogues, and Hunters are destroying everything, so it's not really a very good setting to test those in. However, I'm still excited to get in some keys this weekend, maybe next week, and see the new effects and the, I guess, 1 minute Dark Lair and 1 minute Tyrant builds for Demo and Affliction. Once again, any weak Warlocks profiles or add-ons you see here, they're available for free on my Twitch. If you want to swing by and grab them, grab them anytime, ask any questions, happy to help. Let me know what you guys think of these new changes, your favorite legendary change in the comment section below. If you have any questions, ask them there as well. I'll be sure to get back to you. Thanks for watching again, dudes, and I'll catch you all again soon. Peace.